Hello and welcome to the Quint Talk Show Season 2. As you know, in this talk show, we compile some of your queries and questions, take you to the experts, and for their opinion, response, and suggestions. And today's hot topic is the new ITIL4 qualification scheme. And we are very delighted to have with us today, live from London, our very own, very famous Catherine Newen. Catherine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Yeah, and absolutely delighted to be talking about ITIL4 and our new framework scheme. So yes, thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine, for doing this, and thank you for the talk show again. First of all, congratulations to you and PeopleCert for the launch of the new ITIL4 qualification scheme. I know you've been working very hard on it, and it creates some amazing new tracks and certification for all of us. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. We're very excited about it. You're right. It's been a lot of work, but it's really developing what was already a great new framework. I mean, ITIL4 itself has been massively successful since we launched with a new foundation first in 2019, and we're just adding to that success. So I'm really pleased to deep dive into some of those detailed questions about what it looks like.
Sure. So let's deep dive into it. This is the reason why we've all collected today. I like to ask some of the queries that we have collated and see how we go from there. So this is the first one. We'll build on it, but I like you to give a high level understanding of the ITIL4 qualification scheme as it stands now, which was launched by PeopleCert a few weeks back. What's in it for the learners here in the new qualification scheme?
Great. Well, let me just give you a very high level view, and then we can go into some of those individual things a bit later. So we've still obviously got ITIL Foundation, that still stays there. And we've equally got, which I'm sure all of the listeners will know, is the managing professional stream or designation and the strategic leaders designation. So they are absolutely still there. And we last year introduced a couple of extension modules. So we had cloud and sustainability. So those have been extension modules that we have added. But what we're going to do is add some more extension modules. So we've got business relationship management and asset management just launched. We've got a whole new practice manager designation. So that has partly launched. So I'll explain what we've launched as of the beginning of April and what we'll continue to launch for the second part of H1. It will lead very excitingly to ITIL Master, which I'd like to explain in some detail a bit later. And also underpinning all that is we've got some new overview courses, which will allow more flexibility. So what we've got now, Sunil, is on top of what was already a very strong framework, is some real depth and flexibility in some smaller courses, as well as going right up to ITIL Master.
So let's zoom into now about the new practice manager designation and also the practice-based courses that you talk about. Can you take us through what these designation entails?
Yes, love to. So the new practice manager designation is pulling on the practice guides that have been in existence. So many people will have looked at those which were already in the MyAxelos section, but they were always behind the firewall and, people weren't using them necessarily. And so what we've done is really pulled those out, using those practice guides, putting certifications around them. So you can either do them individually. So you can, if you just wanted to do one, you could. So you could really deep dive into a particular practice. But importantly, if you do 5 of those practices so you'd get that practice manager designation by doing 5, but if you've, it also links to the master. So I can come on to perhaps that master designation a bit later, but the practice manager leads you on to one of those stepping stones to the ITIL master as well. So that's what we're doing. It's allowing a real deep dive into those practices. It can be very individual and just doing a small one, or by doing 5, it allows you to actually get that big practice manager designation.
No, absolutely. And I think this is the need of the hour, because since the time ITIL got started, in the early 90s, people have been struggling with the practices or the processes at those time. They're still working on the incident and the problem and the change and how it works together. And I'm sure the deep dive on these practices and the practice manuals will give a much clear, focus and an implementation plan for most of the organizations. So thank you for bringing this up, Catherine. That takes me to my next question, and this is the question a lot of our viewers have been waiting for and asking us is about the ITIL4 master designation.
Yeah.
How do we achieve this aspirational qualification if we've already done the MP and the SL track already? So can you throw some light on that, please?
I can absolutely throw some light on that. We've been a long time announcing this, so thank you to the market for being so patient. I know many of you have been asking about the ITIL Master for quite some time, so let me set it straight. If you have managing professional and strategic leader, all you now need to get is the practice manager designation, which I've just explained. So 5 of those practices, and then you will be awarded the ITIL Master. So 3 of those designations, and you automatically become the ITIL Master. There is no further interview required. Just to be clear on that. Again, we have had that in past versions of ITIL Master, but we feel if you have those 3 designations, you will be an ITIL Master.
Okay, excellent. So just to clarify, I understand from the diagram that in the practice manager designate, there are 3 tracks. What you're saying is you need to do only at least one of those tracks to qualify as a practice manager. That qualification, along with the MP and the SL qualification, would kind of automatically take the participant to the ITIL master qualification.
That's completely correct, Sunil. So just one of those. What I would say is we've just launched with the monitor support and fulfill. So that is out now. That's the only track that's available this minute as of the middle of April. But we're busy working on the other 2, which will be out in the next couple of months. So by mid-year, you could also do plan, implement, and control, or collaborate, assure, and improve. So those other 2 are not out yet, but they will be very soon.
That brings us to one more query that people have been posting, and these are especially practitioners, hands-on people. They're already SL qualified, they're already MP qualified, and they feel that they've covered a lot of practices already. So what would be the additional coverage that we will get in the PM track, which they've not yet covered in their SL and the MP track?
No, it's a really good question, and I'm happy to answer this one. The practices were always separate. So we left things out of managing professional and strategic leader and had them in the practices. They were always there separate. So we haven't pulled stuff from what was in managing professional strategic leader. It was always separate. What we're now doing is putting that into the practice manager designation. So it's things that were there that people were accessing separately. It now gives a designation around that.
Absolutely. So I think I've seen some of the practice documents. They're pretty detailed. Some of them going to 60, 70 pages. So, that kind of depth we never cover,
No.
obviously in the other qualification. This is more specific, more deeper. And I think that's great. As I said, most of our issues are grappling in those practices. And if you're able to resolve it, we are way, way better. Okay, that brings us to one more question. And this is coming from some of our delivery consultants saying, in a lot of the MP and SL track, we are covering a good amount of behavioral skills, along with obviously the practice skills. Is the same extended to the new PM qualification as well? And your comments on the importance of these essential skills?
No, absolutely. They are essential skills, and we certainly do cover them in the practices as well. So it's not something that we leave out. Obviously, the practices are meant to be practical, but they absolutely take into account the need, even whatever you're doing around those behavioural skills. And really, it was the whole reason why we on one of the reasons why we needed ITIL4 to update from V3, because it probably V3 wasn't covering these as much, and that's what ITIL4 as its whole raison d'etre has embedded. So we will continue to do that in everything that we do. It's why we do the extension modules as well, because there's a lot of behavioural things in there, how we're dealing with cloud and sustainability. These are big topics, and that's why we felt we've needed to have those extension modules, although they're not prerequisites to getting the master, just to be clear on that, because I've mentioned those extension modules. They are standalone modules. You don't have to do those to get the masters.
Now, Catherine, since we are the extension modules, I'm also happy that you've launched two new and absolutely essential extension modules, the BRM as well as the ITAM. Can you explain a little bit about their importance in actual end-to-end management of services?
Yes, again, and we're trying to give in the ITIL framework as much flexibility as possible. So we appreciate that there are many job roles that are very specific that we want to help ITIL with. And that's why we say we did cloud and sustainability, because there were people asking for those special things. So what we're doing with the specialist modules for BRM and asset management is a lot more detail. So they will be, and you're quite right, they do, there's stuff in there that will obviously be in the practice manager as well, but these are much bigger qualifications that go a much deeper dive. And that is why, actually, Sunil, if you do the BRM or the asset manager specialist modules, they would count in the practice manager as well. So you could do that if you wanted to, because they do they are a practical certification, so they would equally count. But just to be clear, the sustainability and cloud don't count in the practice manager because they're a completely different topic. Okay.
Also, it was exciting to see that the entire range of ITIL4 overview courses are also getting launched, right? So we earlier had ITIL4 awareness program. We did not have Prince 2 awareness, but we had the ITIL4. So what was the need really to launch the entire ITIL4 overview courses?
Yeah, no, really good point. So the awareness courses will still run, and many of our partners, you included, Sunil, like to do these short awareness courses, but they are short. They're sort of 90-minute little updates, and they don't, by the very nature of them, we didn't want them to be trying to say that they replaced proper training. They are very much, as it says in the title, an awareness. So you couldn't really deliver very much in there, which was fine, and it was covering a certain sort of a need. But we had a lot of feedback from the market, from partners, from corporates, that there's people that don't always want to well, there's two sorts of people. I think there's probably C-suite executives who want an overview of ITIL. They want a bit more than an awareness course. They wanted to come for a day probably and really get to understand ITIL or Prince. As you mentioned Prince, we'll have the awareness courses for Prince, but we're talking about ITIL today. We'll have an awareness course. You can come along. There'll be proper official training material with it. You've got a whole pack there, but you're not necessarily doing an exam at the end of it. It's not the pressure of leading to an exam, because actually you just need an awareness of ITIL. Now, equally, so that's maybe for a C-suite executive, but equally you might have somebody that's not sure if they want to go onto the ITIL track. So again, they might come along for an awareness course, might not do an exam at the end of it, but think, hold on, I do want to do an exam. I want to move on to doing foundation. I want to do all these different exams. So what it really gives is a more in-depth, and that was very, very important. So it's a full in-depth, about a day, depending on how the training provider will actually deliver it. I mean, there might be breaks and different things. So we're not being prescriptive about the exact amount of time, but it gives all our training providers a real ability to work with their corporates, deliver a sort of an awareness overview, and not have to put an exam at the end of it. So that's what the awareness courses are, and why they're so different from, the overview courses are, and why they're so different from the awareness courses.
Sure. I think that clarifies quite a bit on that. And coming to the way it is phased out, because I think the launches are happening in a phased manner. So can you take us through the roadmap of when what would be available?
Yes, absolutely. So obviously, managing professional strategic leader, we know that's all out. So that I don't need to, but I will repeat that just in case. They've been out for a while, as PAS Foundation, and we've now got all of the extension modules. So they are all out. So the cloud, sustainability, BRM, and asset management, they're all in existence. And we've launched literally this month the first 5, that first group in the practice manager. So you can get the practice manager designation now by doing the monitor, support and fulfill strand. Okay. And then, of course, if you've got managing professional strategic leader or you're working towards that, it means you can get the ITIL master now if you're doing practice manager. So it gives you all of that now. The other 2 bundles, if you like, of practices will be coming out in the coming 2 months. So by middle of the year, we will have plan, implement and control, and collaborate, assure and improve, those other 2 bundles. And we'll also probably add to things later on, or in maybe to 2024, other practices if we saw the need. So we're not saying it necessarily finishes there, but that's our roadmap at the moment. And the same with the overview course, is not out yet, but will be out in the next couple of months. So you've got almost everything. By the end of H1, we will have everything in place.
Yeah, we are looking forward to that together, Catherine. That also brings us to another interesting question, and this is to do with the ITIL4 certification expiry. Now we have an expiry date, right, for all the new and existing certification, and there's also a concept of CPD that was introduced. Can you give us a better understanding of CPD and how it'll work for individual candidates?
Yeah, let me spend a bit of time on this, because I'm going to correct you there, Sunil. It's not an expiry, it's a renewal date. All candidates will absolutely be on our successful candidate register. If you've done the exam, you're a successful candidate register. But what we are, and proud to be, our professionals, we expect all of our, if you go and see a doctor, you expect them to be doing CPD and keeping up to date, and so we expect our ITIL and our Prince 2 practitioners to keep up to date. We've always had renewal in Prince 2, actually. We've just brought it in line, and actually with best practice, we brought it in line for ITIL. So what we put in is a renewal scheme. It's gone live, and it means that from the moment you take your exam, you have then a 3-year renewal period. So if you take foundation, you have a 3-year. The clock starts ticking then. Okay, there are various routes to renew, but one of those routes is CPD points. It's expected that you would log on to MyAxelos, so you become a member of the MyAxelos community. And as you do for Prince, so it's exactly the same. Anybody that's done the Prince 2 will know how to do that. And you must log 20 CPD points in a year. And you do 20 in each year, and you have 60 at the end of that 3-year period. And then you'd be automatically renewed. So you can do it via that CPD route. Hope that's clear.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. So I think the candidates can view and read a lot on the Exelos side, on the PeopleSearch side. A lot of information has been given there. So I would encourage, if you want to look at more deeper detail, write to us, write to Catherine, or also go back to the site. One more question, Catherine, which probably we need to also cover, is on the independent practice manager. In case somebody is not looking at master, which means they've not done the MP and the SL track, and they only want to get into practice manager track. My understanding is that apart from the 5 modules, the candidate also has to do CDS as a prerequisite. Can you explain that a little bit?
That is correct. So that is one of the prerequisites. So probably, obviously, if they've done managing professional, for example, and are going for that master's, they'll have CDS anyway. They'll have the create, deliver, support module anyway. But if somebody's coming completely new to it, we would expect to just get the practice manager designation to also do create, deliver, and support. So that is a universal module across practice manager and managing professional, in the same way that direct plan and improve is a universal module against managing professional strategic leaders. So we've got those overlapping.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you for clarification. So
Yeah.
thank you, Catherine, for your straight answers and amazing responses to our queries. We will definitely like to invite you again on this talk show very, very soon. And wishing you all the best for the success of the new ITIL4 qualification scheme. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Sunil, and thank you for all your support, and everybody listening. Thank you for your support as well. It's lovely to be here chatting to you. I'd love to hear from anybody if you've got any feedback. Obviously, we're always busy developing. We're always busy growing. We only develop with your feedback. So I want to thank you, our community, who inputs into what we're developing. Thanks, Sunil.
Thank you. Thank you. So, friends, this brings us to the end of yet another interesting episode. We will continue to bring the market updates to you from the field of best practices, technology, automation, and the human skills, which we now call essential skills. We'll be back soon. Stay tuned.